When you first start your world building process for your book, things can feel a little overwhelming, to say the least. It might feel as if there are about 1,000 things you have to consider. Do you know how the climate is in different parts of your world? Do you know what kind of dialects your different fantasy species speak? Do you know what kind of literature was popular in your fantasy world during different eras? No? Well, then you're not done with your world building process. At least that is what some people would tell you. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this approach. Of course, a well thought out world will intrigue your readers, and it can improve your story overall. However, you do not have to know every single detail about your world. Especially if these details are super niche things that do not have any significant impact on your story. If you approach your world building process with, let's say, too much enthusiasm, you might get overwhelmed pretty quickly. And the end result? You'll probably stop working on your project. So instead of stressing about every single possible aspect of world building, and there are a lot of things, and some of them can be really entertaining and really fun to think about, rather determine which aspects are truly important for your story. Before I show you an example, I want to make it clear that this video is here to give you some advice on writing and world building that I personally find helpful and that had proven helpful for me during the years I've been writing. However, please keep in mind that writing is a creative process, so this approach might not be your preferred one, and that is okay. If you tackle your world building differently, let me know in the comments. Now let's take a look at an example. If I want to write a book that is about the protagonist living in a dystopian world, for example, in which the government misrepresents historical events to further their own propaganda, I should absolutely know about what historical events happened in my world, during which time, how different historical events influence each other, and ultimately what really happened during that time. There would be a lot of things I could ask myself. What narratives are used to talk about these historical events? Who is studying them? Who is teaching them? Is someone silenced? Why? How? What sources do they have about these events? These are all things I could ask myself. And there are a lot of interesting questions you can try to find answers for, but it's not necessary for every writer to know about their world's history, for example, in the greatest detail. However, if I write a story about propaganda and misrepresentation, then I should definitely know a lot more about it. You see, the purpose of world building is for you to present an interesting and engaging world to your readers. You don't, however, want to overwhelm them. And most importantly, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. So instead of adding more and more aspects to your world building, which might not even be important for your story, instead take a moment and think about what you actually need to know. What is the theme of your story? What information is valuable to both you and your readers? What information should you know about, even if you do not reveal it to the readers? How can you make important aspects of your plot feel more realistic, more engaging through great world building? And only if you have the answer to these questions, then start working on these parts of your world. Obviously, there are a lot of things you can include in your world, and you can always add more things. Especially if you go back through your first draft, you can always add new things. But if you overwhelm yourself at the beginning, you just will never finish your world, and you will never finish your story. So think about these questions first, write them down, write the answers down, and then start working on these things. And if you do that, I'm sure world building would be a great experience for you. If you're interested in more creative writing tips, you can follow me on Pinterest, the link is in the description, or subscribe here and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video!